Alright, to the main event. Here we are. You all know about Kent Hovind, creationist, sovereign citizen, tax protester, and former federal inmate. So Kent Hovind went to jail for about 10 years for refusing to pay his taxes. He didn't collect, Social Security tax and stuff from his employees. He was paying them under the table. And on top of that, he wasn't paying taxes of his own income. He basically was just avoiding all taxes altogether. Went to jail for about 10 years. And he got out, 2 or 3 years ago, something like that at this point. And he's been on YouTube doing his creationist thing ever since. He recently, just in this past year, has filed a federal lawsuit asking for $500 million in compensation from the federal government and some of the other people involved in the case, claiming that they had enslaved him and broken his 13th Amendment rights. So, let's take a look at this lawsuit and how funny it is, because it is pretty funny. So this is a civil rights complaint lawsuit, which he is claiming breaches his 1st, 4th, 6th, 9th, 10th, 13th, and 14th Amendments. That's a lot of amendments to have broken, okay? Come now, plaintiffs. Kent Hovind, an individual, and Paul John Hansen as trustee of Creation Science Evangelism, that's his company, or his ministry, a non-statutory trust, brings this action pursuant to 42 U.S.C. 1983, seeking damages to remedy violations of their rights secured by the following. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the rights of the people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. He's just going to list the amendments here. We'll go through them briefly. The amendments that he believes were infringed upon, at least. Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Fifth Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service, in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Sixth Amendment, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the criminal should have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. This one's going to be important. He underlines the sections that he believes are important here. So let's go over some of these very quickly. The underlined sections. Establishment of religion, free exercise thereof. He believes that he is being disallowed his free exercise of religion by being jailed, or at least tried, for tax evasion. Untrue. He claims people have the right to be secure in their persons, houses, papers. He's going to talk later in the lawsuit about them basically coming onto his property, Dinosaur Adventureland, which is his business, and searching, stuff. They had, warrants and everything. So that's completely falls on its face. He's claiming that he shouldn't have been held to answer for crimes unless presented by an indictment or grand jury. I think he's claiming because he literally didn't see the indictment itself, like the actual paperwork, that it doesn't count. It's fine. I'm sure there was an indictment. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. He's claiming that he some of his property was seized, I'm pretty sure, after he was found guilty, and he's claiming that he wasn't given due process of law. Let's see, confronting witnesses against him. He's claiming that he didn't see the actual witnesses, and also have assistance for the counsel of his defense. He's also suing his lawyer in this lawsuit because he thinks his lawyer didn't do a good enough job defending him. Enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. He's basically claiming that he thinks he should have the right to not pay taxes, so the Ninth Amendment is being violated. Same thing in Amendment 10. Amendment 13, which is neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime whereof the property shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. He's claiming that later in the lawsuit, we'll see, he's claiming that because you have to collect taxes for your employees, so if you own a business and you have employees and you're paying them, you have to take payroll taxes out. He's claiming that the government forcing him to do his job and take out payroll taxes is slavery. It's not. And then Amendment 14, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. He's claiming that he was denied due process of law. He wasn't. Hovind and Hansen also seek damages for civil conspiracy state constitutional violations pursuant to Florida common law. Oh boy. Notice, though there are 60 counts, most all are the same acts participated in by all defendants, not very much it is likened to 10 counts against the 6 defendants. Notice, this complaint is brought to the jury by the plaintiffs by sworn affidavit, and all statements herein are deemed to be true until otherwise refuted by the defendants individually point for point. Nothing in this document shall be used to diminish the truthfulness of the statement. He's basically saying, I claim that all the claims in this document are true, and the burden of proof is now on you to prove otherwise, which isn't typically how court cases work. They're civilly trying to sue. I'm pretty sure the burden of proof would be on him to prove that the accusations in this document are true. Notice the attached is that supposed to be amendum? Amabum. Don't know what that word means. Let's look. Amabum. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake. Either way. 1, 2, and 3 are sworn to be true, each bearing affidavit signatures. I feel like it's supposed to be maybe addendum. Could be wrong, though. Paul John Hansen is trustee for the Creation Science, what's the last word on that? His business. And plaintiff Kent Hovind hereby sue the defendants jointly and severally. So they're suing them collectively and as individuals. This is a 42 U.S. Code 1983 federal civil rights case under the organic 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, 13th, and 14th Amendments of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution for the United States of America as applied to the states and federal governments against the defendants for individual and collective personal, malicious, and unlawful violations under color of state and federal law of plaintiffs' individual and collective rights. Defendants committed these unlawful violations of plaintiffs' constitutional and states' rights under the color of state law in bad faith and with malicious purpose and reckless, wanton, and willful disregard of plaintiffs' rights. When he says the color of law is something that has the appearance of law but is not actually legal or constitutional. So they're saying, the police came in and they tried me, but I think it was kangaroo court, and I think this is all bullshit. It's not law, it is color of law. That's his claim. Jurisdiction and venue. The plaintiff brings this action pursuant 42 U.S.C. 1983 for violations of civil rights under the 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, 13th, 14th Bill of Rights amendments as enumerated by the Constitution for the United States of America. This court has subject matter jurisdiction. This is just them explaining why they think, the court has jurisdiction over this particular matter. Every lawsuit needs to do this. Preliminary statement introduction. This is an action for money damages, declaratory, and injunctive relief brought pursuant to 42 U.S.C. 1983 and the 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 13th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America, and under the laws of the state of Florida. It's always Florida. Why Florida? Why do? Section 1983 allows defendants to be found liable as they have acted under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of the state or territory or the District of Columbia. Each defendant acted under color of federal, state, and local law. This case involves Amendment 14 to the United States Constitution, which provides, Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States of the state wherein they reside, enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the United States, deprive any person of life, liberty, or deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The amendment is enforced by Title 42, Section 1983, United States Code. It basically just says everyone's, equal under the law. As directed and affecting violation of the Constitution guaranteed rights under the 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, 13th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution for the United States of America to be free from 1. The imposing of the United States written law in land that is not evidenced as being land of the United States as defined in Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17, Constitution for the United States of America. This is where things start to get interesting. So, Kent Hovind is claiming in this lawsuit when he says, the land is not evidenced as being part of the United States. Kent Hovind is claiming that his business, Dinosaur Adventureland or whatever the heck it's called, he's claiming that his land, which resides in Florida, is sovereign and not part of the United States. He is saying because it is literally not federal land owned by the federal government, even though it resides in the United States, he is saying that therefore federal law does not apply on his property, and that his property is sovereign from the United States. This is what we like to call stupid. You cannot claim that land that you own within the United States is not a part of the United States. There are some people who do it as a joke, like there's a micronation called Molossia, but it's a joke, right? They're not actually claiming to be sovereign. Kent Hovind is unironically trying to say that his property does not reside in the United States, despite being geographically located there. 2. The imposing of written law upon plaintiffs Hansen and Hovind that are not evidence as acting in the land of the United States as defined in Article 1, Section 18, Paragraph 17 of the Constitution of the United States of America. 3. The imposing of United States of America written law upon plaintiffs that are not evidenced as having any contract or contact with the United States of America. So this is them trying to cover, okay, we've already said that we're not part of the United States, but also they believe that even though their business, Dinosaur Adventureland, resides in the state of Florida, does business in the state of Florida, presumably using banks and having people, in Florida come in and out and do business, and I'm sure they have vendors within Florida that they do business with. They're claiming that they have no contract or contact with the United States of America. Untrue. As to plaintiffs not being secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches. As to plaintiffs' loss of physical liberty, arrested. As to workers of CSE, international offensive conduct, police brutality against Joe Hovind, a CSE ministry worker, as they arrested her at gunpoint at 7:30 a.m. in her nightgown and refused to give her an opportunity to change her clothing without evidence as required in the 4th Amendment. So apparently Joe Hovind at some point, which I'm guessing is his wife, if you're wrong, it seems that they were arrested at some point in the morning and they were not allowed to change their clothes. That's unfortunate. That sucks, but they don't have to let you do that. I get it. That sucks. Would it have been nice for the cops to let her change into something? Probably, but they don't have to do that. As to workers of CSE, fear of imminent peril from armed U.S. officers assigned to execute arrest warrants. As to CSE and workers of CSE, forced by threat, armed robbery as to being forced to unlock the CSE safe, and defendants taking of CSE money. They're basically saying the feds or local cops, whoever carried out the arrest warrant and all the other warrants that were involved, came in and said to the employees of the park, hey, you need to open the safe for us. We have a warrant. Open the safe. We're going to take your money, which they're legally allowed to do. We can talk about, like, asset seizure and, like, the morality of it, and that's a completely different issue, but it doesn't change the fact that under the law, which is what we're talking about here, because he's trying to sue the United States federal government for $500 million for his alleged constitutional violations. He's claiming that them exercising a search warrant on his property and seizing his property after he refused to pay taxes for like a decade. He's saying that they were like forced at gunpoint and were under threat of duress. Yeah, that's how the police work. That's how the police work. It sucks, but you know, don't cheat on your taxes for 10 years. I don't know what else to tell you. As to CSE and workers of CSE, and as to the property of land of arrest and seizure with no evidence of any warrants, probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. Now, he's claiming that there was no evidence of warrants or probable cause. I'm going to go ahead and disagree. They definitely had probable cause. Like, I can go online right now and show you. Hold on. Kent Hovind literally made, like, whole VHS video series on how to avoid paying taxes and not to pay taxes. And I'm sure they had records that they could be like, oh, this guy hasn't paid taxes in 20 years. He says in this video that he hasn't paid taxes in 20 years. Like, they definitely had probable cause. We gotta watch that video on stream sometime. Anyway. As to CSE and workers of CSE not being informed of the nature and cause of the accusation as to the jurisdiction claim over the man, and as to the jurisdiction over CSE, and acts against the ministry as to the fact that no man has attested that the activity of the subject case charges occurred in the land of the United States of America, as enumerated in Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17, Constitution for the United States of America. Once again, falsely claiming that his business does not reside in the United States, even though it is, geographically, in Florida. His land's in the United States. United States law applies to him. Surprise. As to CSE and workers of CSE not to be confronted with the witness against them as to the above elements of the alleged crime, and the taking of CSE property. So the Constitution does say that, like, you have the right to see your accusers or whatever. In this case, your accusers are the federal government, and you were able to, you know, talk with their investigators, and in court, you were able to address the claims being made by the IRS, who was probably the plaintiff. If I had to guess, I don't know exactly how that sort of thing works, but it was probably the IRS or the federal government large was the prosecutor, and they did so, and you were able to be there with representatives of them, and then you were able to try and rebut their claims with your lawyer, which you failed to do. So, you had your day in court. As to Hovind not having the effective assistance of counsel for his defense, for the attorney stopped defending when threatened by Judge Rogers when the counsel started forcing proof of the elements of the alleged crime. He's claiming his lawyer sucked and therefore should be liable. As to Hovind being prosecuted with no evidence of a complaint or warrant supported by oath or affirmation. Again, pretty sure there was evidence. In the official record, thus not charged as a matter of law, Hovind was never constitutionally charged. As to Hovind and Hansen not having certain rights, as the court administrators Rogers' practices had effect to deny or disparage others retained by the people, such as biblical fair trial, as such was denied when the presiding Judge Rogers threatened Hovind's attorney. He wants a biblical fair trial. Kent, you can't have a biblical trial. We live in the United States of America. Your First Amendment right and everyone's First Amendment right means the government can't establish a religion, and doing a biblical trial would be establishing a religion. We have secular courts in this country. You can't have a biblical trial. As to CSE denying the land and property rights, independence from the U.S. that belongs to the people, no. Straight up no. You are not being denied your land and property rights because the United States government laws apply on your property. That property is yours if you own it, right? That's yours. That's great. You gotta pay property taxes, probably. I don't know Florida's property tax laws. But, like, you can't just be like, I am exempt. This land is sovereign. That's not how it works. As Hovind being denied access to legal papers to form a meaningful appeal due to being moved approximately 25 times during his appeal window and a total of 32 times total during his 8.5 years of incarceration. So he's claiming that he didn't have access to legal documents to form an appeal because he was moved 25 times during his incarceration. Or during his appeal window, 25 times, and then 32 during his entire stay in prison. I don't know how often people get moved in prison. I really don't. I don't know if that's excessive, or if that's pretty normal, or if it's lower than normal. I don't know. I can't speak to that. But I don't understand why being moved from prison to prison would stop you from getting legal paperwork. I'm sure if you requested stuff that is your right to have for an appeal, I'm sure they'd be able to get that for you, especially if you have a lawyer. I'm sure the lawyer could take care of that. Oh, is there a troll? I always love when there's a troll and I don't even see their messages. That's fun. Exculpatory evidence was withheld from Hovind, and there was no sworn complaint to legality and formally initiate the criminal proceedings, and there was no originating sworn statement in the official record, so therefore Hovind was not charged as a matter of law. Due process violation. I would imagine, again, he spent like 10 years in prison, and they arrested him, and there was a trial. His lawyer definitely would have brought this up if there was not some sort of initial, like, grand jury indictment or some other kind of indictment. I'm sure that exists. If there wasn't, you might be right, but I don't think that's the case. And I don't know about the supposed exculpatory evidence. Exculpatory evidence would be evidence that would basically show that he's innocent. He doesn't say what this exculpatory evidence is supposed to be, so. As to Hovind and CSE, both were subjected to prejudicial and negative national publicity and personal humiliation without any sworn claim of a crime or sworn evidence before the court of land jurisdiction, as is the required subject matter jurisdiction, pleading evidence to complete the sufficiency of the pleadings before the U.S. court. So, he's mad that he got negative publicity and a lot of people mocking him for getting arrested for this. The court has no power over that. If it were found that he was actually innocent of this, maybe he could claim, I don't know, some sort of damages because his reputation had been hurt by these, but I don't think that's how it works. Defendants' misconduct. As a direct and proximate result of the acts of defendants working together, oh good, he learned the term proximate cause, good for him. As a direct and proximate result of the acts of defendants working together, plaintiffs suffered the following injuries and damages. At all times relevant to this complaint, defendants are as follows: United States of America, an entity. Margaret Catherine Rogers, an individual, presiding criminal trial, U.S. attorney. The estate of John David Roy Atchison, former U.S. attorney. Mitchell Heldmeyer, an individual U.S. attorney. Scott Schneider, an individual IRS criminal you get it. He's suing the government, the judge, the attorney that was the prosecutor, IRS investigators. He's suing everyone who was involved in his trial, including his own defense attorney. On or about March 1st, 2004, Hovind founded the ministry called Creation Science Evangelism to basically expound on the truths of God's Word, the Bible, and the Lord's relationship to all creation. I'm going to pause real quick. I'm really sorry. I have to use the bathroom very, very badly. I'll be back in just a sec. Alright, sorry about that. Back at it. CSE existed by documented of record as a non-statutory trust and has no contact or contract, no legal nexus business with the United States of America. Again, he's claiming that his business that is registered in the United States, does business in the United States geographically, with United States citizens. I'm sure, again, he has vendors in the United States, and it's literally in Florida. He's claiming he has no contact with the United States, which is just absolutely untrue. That is a complete lie. On July 13th, 2006 at 7:30 a.m., after the CSE was operating with no known legal nexus with the United States of America, a SWAT team led by the United States of America federal agents representing themselves as acting officially in official uniform, consisting of more than 20 individuals, all brandishing United States of America, issued assault rifles, surrounded the house with the post address 29 Cummings Road, Pensacola, Florida, where Hovind and his wife were sleeping, which was property land owned by CSE Trust Ministries. Then on the same morning, the same armed United States of America agents went to all surrounding ministry property and arrested all ministry workers, numbering 35. The arrested were then separated and then individually interrogated for up to 6 hours before allowing them to return to their respective housing. Which sucks. I'm sorry your employees had to be subject to questioning by the federal government. Maybe don't commit federal crimes. Don't commit federal crimes. And I'm sure, hey, look, is a SWAT team excessive? I would agree. I would tend to agree that a SWAT team is probably excessive to go and pick up Kent Hovind for tax evasion. I agree. And that's why I'm in favor of, like, police reform and not dealing with this stuff the way that it's currently dealt with. But it doesn't change the fact that you broke federal tax law, and they're going to come and arrest you, and they're going to question your employees because you broke the law. On or about July 13th, 2006, Hovind and Joe Hovind were presented an indictment from a grand jury proceeding. Okay, well, earlier he was claiming that he was never presented with an indictment from a grand jury, and that was one of the reasons that his rights were infringed. But here he's saying, on July 13th, he was presented with an indictment from a grand jury. So why do you think you were denied these things when you literally are saying you got this? with a case number, and then there's the case number, upon which both were soon arraigned under, with the recorded pleas of not guilty, with the challenges to personal jurisdiction being asserted by Hovind, and then the same challenge was ignored by the presiding administrator, Margaret Catherine Rogers. So he's saying at the time they were indicted, and then they were arraigned. At the arraignment, they put in their plea of not guilty. And Hovind, we've seen this in Sovereign Citizen videos, even though the arraignment is not the time to start making legal arguments, you're just there to put in a plea. He said, like, I don't think the United States government has jurisdiction under me. Prove to me that you have jurisdiction to me, a citizen that I don't believe I live in the United States, even though my business is in Florida. Doesn't typically go well. By order of a Margaret Catherine Rogers, all CSE trustees were barred from joining the case as a defendant. Okay. Soon after the arrest, Hovind and Joe Hovind retained counsel Alan Stewart Ritchie by paying $50,000. That's actually not bad. As someone who's had to hire, lawyers before for some shit, That's just the retainer, though, I guess. It's a pretty big just retainer. But if we're talking about lifetime payments, that's not too bad. But yeah, it seems like a retainer. To make the appropriate judicial challenges and necessary defenses as when needed, Hovind retained the lawyer as defense counsel for an additional upfront fee of $50,000. Joe Hovind counsel and fee being independent of Hovind's payment. An additional $50,000 has also been allocated to legal fees associated with Hovind and CSE as related to this case, subject from the year 2006 to 2020. On or about September 2006, the case was tried. The case ended with Hovind and Joe Hovind being found guilty of all charges, ending in sentencing Hovind to 10 years in prison, $430,000 structured fine, and $700,000 in restitution to the U.S. IRS, with 3 years of strict supervised probation. Also, Joe Hovind with 1 year of imprisonment and 1 year of supervised probation. So they ended up owing the federal government, what is that? $1,130,000. All things considered, it could have been worse. I guess I don't know what Hovind is pulling in terms of money, but like he's been doing this creationist grift for years and years and years. So not paying taxes on yourself personally or for any of his employees for like 20 years, he probably got off pretty easy. $1,130,000. It's not nothing. But he could pay that off and eventually, go on to still make decent money. 2004 CSE revenue was approximately $2 million. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, he could pay this off in a number of years. I know a lot of that, I'm sure, goes to upkeep and stuff. But, you whittle away at that. He could get back to making a decent amount of money and paying his taxes appropriately, and he'd be doing fine. Let me get to some of the bit messages real quick. We'll take a quick, brief bit message break. Dirtiest, thank you for following. Daddy Sume with 29 bits. And all around D-Bag, don't forget that, Anna. The Shadow Witch with 30 bits. Dang it, I'm gonna say it again. Come get your Florida, Spain. We're sorry. Mitchell Drummer, the 13th Amendment literally says enslavement is okay. In prison, actually. I'm not kidding. Yeah, Netflix has a documentary about it called The 13th. Lily loves stuff with 20 bits. Too bad until the 13th Amendment when you were in prison, it's okay to be enslaved. Wow, someone didn't read, huh? Wind Chanter with 30 bits. Saw a sovereign citizen in the wild. Their license plate claimed they didn't need to register their vehicle. I'm sure they get pulled over a lot. Aren Yi... Oh, God. Aren Yigard did nothing wrong. Thank you for following. The Gentle Gamer, thank you for following. Butterfiend69... don't understand why they think this would work. I have no idea. Indignity Jones, thank you for following. Enreath with 30 bits. Damn, Hannah, this is a bop in regard to the music I was playing earlier. And then Dr. Gamble with 20 bits. You're out of order. You're out of order. This whole court's out of order. 2005 revenue was $2,250,000, and then 2006 revenue was $2,500,000. Like, it's good. That's pretty good. Every year, it looks like, at least between 2004 and 2006, his income was going up. Not income, I should say revenue. Sorry. Revenue for his business was going up, $250,000 a year. That's good growth. I'm just saying, like... He should have just paid his taxes. He probably would have been doing pretty well right now. He still probably is, honestly. A lot of people like Kent Hovind who are like creationists. On or about February 19th, 2009, CSE collapsed and CSE products sales ceased due to Margaret Catherine Rogers' court determination that CSE was an alter ego of Hovind. Therefore, CSE was deemed as a non-existent by court order. So at some point, the court, looking at the finances of CSE, basically said, okay, this is just Hovind. He's just using the company to hide his money, to hide his income. We're going to dissolve this entity. They have the right to do that if you commit crimes and are using your organization as a piggy bank like that. To this day, CSE does not operate due to fear imposed by Catherine Rogers' orders. I mean, they dissolved the organization. It no longer exists. You still are doing stuff, Kent. CSE had its land and most of all of its property having a present value of $3 million taken by the United States of America. Court on September 19th, 2009. See appendices as hereto attached. So they seized his property. Honestly, if it really had a value of $3 million, seems like he'd be paid up. But maybe that was a separate thing. Maybe the $1,130,000 was what was left after he had already had his property seized. Or maybe the property seizure is just a completely separate issue. I don't know. CSE lead speaker Hovind was generally invited to speak at approximately 30 churches worldwide weekly, on average in 2006, but in 2020 it is 0. Hovind is striving daily to regain his and like ministry's popularity since his release on August 7th, 2015. Hovind, soon after being greeted at home to a notice of divorce, forced removal by his own son with aid of the police to get off the one CSE ministry land, ending with close to full separation from all his family members and immediate family, including all his beloved grandchildren. Oh no. This just got so personal and sad. Oh god. Okay. So Hovind's wife served him with divorce papers, and he apparently was trespassing on property, with the family on it, and the police, along with his son, removed him from said property. That's pretty sad. Plaintiff's allegations against defendant United States of America. Oh, good. Let's see what he's accusing the United States of. That defendant United States of America, by various policies and or customs employed by its agents and officers, enabled false testimony and false evidence to be used against Hovind and CSE at trial. Case number, there's the case number, in the United States District Court, Northern District of Florida. Specifically, the defendant United States of America, in an open court by various policies and customs, enabled false testimony and false evidence in the subject case in 2006 that, 1, Hovind and CSE had a legal duty to be employed in collecting taxes, keep an account and safekeeping of funds, and then pay over the same funds as federal income taxes and FICA taxes to the United States of America for each ministry worker. Yeah. You are required to do that. That's not a grievance that you can list. I mean, you can list it. It's just a waste of time. Yes, the government can force you as an employer who is employing people and paying them. They can force you to withhold employment taxes from them, all the various taxes that apply at your federal, state, and local levels. That's a thing. That's a responsibility you have as a business owner with employees. You have to do it. That's not some grievance again that you can have. It's just how it is. Hovind and CSE was involved in a regulated activity that required collection of taxes for the United States of America. Hovind and CSE was involved in an activity in land where the United States written law had force and effect upon Hovind and CSE that required collection of taxes for the United States of America. Hovind and CSE had ministry workers that were required to pay taxes over to Hovind and CSE for the United States of America. A lot of these are just him being mad that taxes exist. Hovind and CSE had a legal duty to attain an EIN, which is basically a tax ID, it's employee identification number. Yeah. You use this, again, to file taxes as a business. Hovind and other CSE were qualified or eligible to obtain an EIN license from the United States of America. Hovind, blah, 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 subject to involuntary servitude as a statutory trust or as a man possessing unalienable rights, as to being forced to be a tax collector for the United States of America under threat of arrest, long-term imprisonment, and mass financial loss. So again, he's claiming that the 13th Amendment is being violated because he thinks him being forced to collect taxes from his employees' wages and other things within his business, presumably, is involuntary servitude that he's being forced to do under threat of imprisonment and financial loss. He's just mad that there are responsibilities as a business owner to collect taxes. It's not slavery, Kent. It's not. Imagine being so entitled that your business is making like $2.5 million a year in revenue, and you're mad that you have to take a little bit of clerical time to figure this stuff out. Honestly, he probably had enough money, he could just hire someone to be, someone who deals with all the tax stuff for him. Just hire someone whose job is to do that. But no, doesn't want to do that. Whatever. Hovind or CSE ministry workers had a legal duty to file or pay taxes or have withholdings collected for the United States of America. No evidence exists that any ministry worker had a legal duty or were qualified to file and pay taxes to the United States of America as a matter of law. So he's saying, you think I need to pay taxes? Prove it! I think they did, Kent. They sent you to jail for 10 years over it. Many agents and officers of the United States of America, by its various policies and or customs, enabled false testimony and false evidence by multiple witnesses that gave much of the above same false testimony without any of such agents or officers noticing any officer of the court of the same false evidence. The United States of America agents and officers, by operation of various policies and or customs, failed to inform that Hovind or CSE had a moral and legal right to a response from Schneider and other IRS agents as to the many letters written to Schneider starting in 1991, many sent to other IRS agents as to any legal duty that may apply to Hovind and CSE as were highly germane to the criminal case. Plaintiff allegations against defendant Margaret Catherine Rogers, an individual. I believe she is the judge. She was the judge in the case, I think. An officer employed by the United States knowingly allowed a false and misleading evidence to be used against Hovind. Yeah, I think she's the judge. Specifically, the defendant, Margaret Catherine Rogers, in open court knowingly allowed false evidence that 1. Hovind and CSE had a legal duty to be employed in collecting taxes, keep an account and safekeeping the funds, and then pay over the same funds as federal income taxes and FICA taxes to the United States. Again, same claims. He's just mad that he had to collect taxes, basically. Again, claiming that the land is not subject to United States law, which is total bullshit. It is. Again, the EIN thing. Just mad. Mad he has to pay taxes. Still mad he has to pay taxes. I wonder if he's paying them currently. He's gonna go back to jail if he's not. Claiming that they gave false testimony. Plaintiff allegations against defendant, the estate of John David Roy Atchison, former U.S. prosecutor. These are the same allegations against the prosecutor. These are against Mitchell, another U.S. prosecutor. It's just repeating, so I'm just kind of skimming through, because we get it. He's mad he has to pay taxes, and he thinks his business isn't on U.S. soil, even though it is. IRS investigator. Attorney. He's suing his own defense attorney from the first trial. With, again, similar stuff. Count 2, false imprisonment. Okay. So those were his claims about how he thinks the initial shit was bullshit, okay? Now he's going to claim he was falsely imprisoned. Plaintiff realleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 51 above. Plaintiff was arrested with no sworn complaint in the official record that meets the Fourth Amendment requirement as found in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution for the United States, which is the custom and policy of defendant, even though earlier in this document he directly cited the date on which he was given an indictment by a grand jury. But, you know, whatever. Don't let that get in the way of your bullshit, Kent. As described more fully above, all the defendants as agents of the United States of America, while acting individually, jointly, and conspiracy, as well as under color of law and within the scope of their employment, caused Hovind to be falsely imprisoned in violation of constitutional written law, for Hovind, as a man of right, cannot be arrested by warrant and then prosecuted without the defendants meeting the requirements of the said Fourth Amendment Bill of Rights. As a result of this violation, Hovind suffered injuries, including but not limited to emotional distress, loss of reputation, loss of revenue, loss of relationships, such as a divorce after 42 years of a blessed marriage, followed by a complete abandonment by son Eric, daughter Marlissa, and all grandchildren, with close to no speaking engagements as compared to being booked up in advance for 18 months prior to the conviction, as associated with speaking in 30-plus countries and 50-plus churches, and before more than 50,000 people yearly, before he set the said arrest in 2006, where all this false notoriety started and Hovind's popularity vanished. So he's basically saying, hey, me being put in jail and convicted of tax fraud and being put in prison for 10 years ruined my life. And it probably did. Kent Hovind went from being one of the most popular, like, creationist voices out there and going to churches regularly and stuff, and now he just spends all his time on YouTube, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being a YouTuber. I also do YouTube. But, like, it's definitely a fall from grace for him. He still has property. He has Dinosaur Adventureland, so he's clearly doing okay. But apparently he's been estranged from his family, which is very sad for him. But again, that's just sort of a natural consequence of him breaking the law and getting everyone in trouble and ruining his reputation in life. It sucks. I get it. But the court is not liable for that. You broke the law. The misconduct described in this count was objectively unreasonable and was undertaken intentionally, systematically, with willful indifference to Hovind's constitutional rights. The misconduct described in this count was undertaken pursuant to the policy and practice of the U.S. Attorney's Office and the International Revenue Service as a manner is described more fully above. Count 3, equal protection. Plaintiff realleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 51 above, as described more fully above, defendants, all while acting individually, jointly, and conspiracy, as well as under color of law and within the scope of their employment, denied plaintiff equal protection of the law in violation of constitutional rights. It's interesting that he's claiming conspiracy. It's not just that he's claiming that they, like, mistakenly, you know, messed up and were trying to do their jobs. He is claiming that, like, the judge, the prosecutors, the IRS investigators, and his own defense attorney, whom he picked personally, were all conspiring to put him in prison even though he did nothing wrong. That's quite a claim. Specifically, these defendants actively participated in or personally caused misconduct in terms of abusing select people who are deemed in conflict with the state and federal unconstitutional agendas to govern the American people beyond its constitutional authority, all done in a manner calculated to coerce, confuse, and secure unjust convictions. Said misconduct was motivated by adverse political animus and constituted purposeful discrimination and religious persecution. It also affects the masses by show of blast imprisonment in a grossly disproportionate manner, vis-a-vis sending a message to all observing Americans, just as practiced in communist China, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. He's claiming that because he is a Christian, he was discriminated against, and they went after him personally. There's no evidence of that. The misconduct described in this count was objectively unreasonable and was undertaken intentionally with willful indifference to the plaintiff's constitutional rights. The misconduct described in this count was undertaken pursuant to the policy and practice of the U.S. Attorney's Office and the IRS in the manner described more fully above. It was the policy and or custom of the United States of America to fail to exercise reasonable care in hiring and training and monitoring its officers, including all defendants, thereby failing to adequately prevent constitutional violations on the part of its policy enforcers, as acting in direct violation of the plain Fourth Amendment Bill of Rights is afforded to a man and man's entities. So now he was claiming conspiracy earlier, but now he's just saying the United States of America was negligent in the way they hired and trained officers, both police officers and officials, IRS investigators, the judge, stuff like that.
Anything but inspect this temple of capitalism.
Hey, Lance, thank you. Welcome, everyone from the raid. The Serfs just raided. Everyone, I'm sure you've already followed Lance over at the Serfs TV,
right,
but if you haven't, please go and check out the Serfs. Hope your stream was good. We're taking a look at sovereign citizens today. Sovereign citizens are individuals who basically think the law doesn't apply to them, and right now we're looking at Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind being a creationist who went to prison for 10 years. He has filed a lawsuit against the federal government for $500 million. So we're taking a look at this lawsuit and basically laughing at how silly it is. So welcome. We do Sovereign Citizens over here, which is very fun. We do Chud Watch a couple times a week, where we look at people like The Quartering or Sargon of Akkad or Tim Pool, and we kind of make fun of them and point out where they're wrong. We do Tinfoil Tuesdays, where we look at conspiracy theories and do debunkings. It's a lot of fun. So if you like what you see, feel free to give me a follow. Lance has said I'm very based, which is nice. So, anyway, let's see where we were. As a result of the above described policies and customs of the United States of America and all other defendants to believe that their actions would not be reported by supervisory administrative officers, that misconduct would not be investigated or sanctioned, but would in fact be tolerated, encouraged, and financially rewarded. The above described policies and customs demonstrate a deliberate indifference on the part of the United States of America to the constitutional rights of free independent men like plaintiff in America, and were the underlying cause of the violations of plaintiff's rights alleged herein. Basically, here he's claiming the IRS investigators, the judge, and everyone, they knew they were doing things illegally, but they thought that their bosses wouldn't only do nothing about it, but they in fact would get raises for it because financially rewarded. No evidence of any of this, but whatever. Count 4, state-created danger. Defendant United States of America is liable for policy and custom of allowing its officers and agents to seize people and property and prosecute without oaths or affirmation in the official recorded complaint of the Fourth Amendment, such as was established in the year 1791 Bill of Rights. Defendant United States of America agents who are accustomed in doing said acts without first evidencing or even evidenced as of this day. If Hovind or CSE was qualified, eligible, or had a legal duty to obtain an EIN and withhold any taxes for the United States of America. So now he's claiming, again, he was mad about the EIN thing earlier, and now he's saying, hey, they didn't even have evidence that I had to file taxes. Kent, the evidence that you have to file taxes is that you are a business operating in the United States of America that is making revenue, and you are paying employees. That is evident. Everyone knows how that works. And if you don't know how that works, then you shouldn't be in business. Defendant United States of America agents are accustomed to doing said acts without first evidencing if Hovind or CSE was doing any business in land where the legislative authority reaches as limited in Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17 of the Constitution for the United States, as associated with each charge against Hovind in 2006. Defendant United States of America agents are accustomed in doing said acts without first evidencing if Hovind or CSE had any legal or contractual duty with any withholding for the defendant. Again, he is trying to claim that his business, which operates in Florida, is somehow not under United States law jurisdiction. It is. If your business operates in the United States of America, you have to pay your taxes. Kent, you went to jail for a decade You can't. You can't do this.
That's right.
Count 5.
Capitalistic propaganda.
Malicious prosecution. Defendant, United States of America, is liable for the policy and custom of allowing its officers and agents to maliciously prosecute Hovind and ministries such as CSE. Defendant, United States of America, agents are accustomed in bringing multiple fatal tidal waves of force against the plaintiffs, and in doing said acts of prosecution without first evidencing if Hovind or CSE was even subject to the charged written laws. Americans have never constituted to unjust force Americans have never consented to unjust force upon the weak in our society by any government, especially the most powerful one in the world. It is charged by plaintiff that event was religious persecution and unconstitutional state expansion in nature.
That's right. Capitalistic propaganda.
Again, he's claiming that there was no evidence for his crimes, but he also cited earlier in the document the grand jury indictment, which presumably came with evidence. And again, he's claiming religious persecution.
Right,
Kent, you're not being religiously persecuted. You didn't pay your taxes for 10 years. Sorry, I'm just reading some stuff. Okay. Plaintiff realleges and incorporates by unlawful seizure. Defendant in the United States of America is liable for policy and custom of allowing its officers and agents to arrest and seize plaintiff's property without due process. United States of America agents and officers seized $52,000 from CSE safe during the raid of July 13, 2006 without court order, warrant, or judgment by forcing a ministry worker, Joe Hovind, to unlock the CSE safe with threat of, if refused, they would force the safe open. I would imagine they had a warrant. It's possible they didn't. If they didn't, then maybe he actually has a grievance. But, again, it's Kent Hovind, so I don't necessarily agree. And we can talk about, police seizing money. I agree. Probably questionable, but, I don't think he has... I don't think he has a leg to stand on here. I'm pretty sure asset seizure is legal within Florida. So, we can talk about morality, but that's not what this is about. This is about this court case, which is legal. Count 7, armed robbery. Oh, he's going to claim that them taking the money is armed robbery. U.S. is liable for the policy and custom of allowing its officers and agents to do acts of armed robbery. The U.S. agents and officers seized $52,000 from the CSE safe during the raid of July 13, 2006 without court order, warrant, or judgment by forcing a ministry worker at gunpoint to unlock the safe with verbal threat. If not opened, they would force the safe open. Again, I morally think that asset seizure is questionable depending on what's going on, but I don't know the context of the actual stuff happening. He's claiming they didn't have a warrant, but I kind of doubt that. I kind of really, really doubt that. And yeah, seizure isn't robbery. Count 8, coerce of power. United States of America is liable for their policy and custom of applying coercive power through the ranks of its agents and officers to act with disregard for constitutional limits and rights. Agents and officers seized and arrested Hovind with CSE assets as formally stated, adding that such acts are done with the attitude that crime pays. The more collected, the greater chance of employment and advancement for the violator. Out of 10 million confiscations done without law, only a few are stopped, thus ending the gain. Violation far outweighs the cost. Again, crime pays. U.S. employees that collect, regardless if they lack constitutional authority, get advanced. He's basically saying, if they take my money, they'll get a raise. So that's not cool. United States is liable for policing and custom of allowing its officers and agents to do unconstitutional acts, knowingly accepting benefits, hundreds of millions from unconstitutional behavior. Claiming asset seizure is unconstitutional. Agents and officers seized and arrested as formally stated, adding that such acts are done with the custom and policy of take, blah, 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 blah. Let me see if it gets interesting again, or if we need to bail out, just because he's repeating himself so much at this point. Moore against Margaret Rogers was the judge. Unlawful seizure, armed robbery, coercive power. Yeah, no, that's not how that works. Same claims. Misconduct, unconstitutional. Comparing it to communist China again. Right-wingers sure do hate China. I get the Chinese government shit, but again, just always with the communist China. State-created danger, again, malicious prosecution, unlawful seizure. We're not even halfway through this document, by the way. It's just a lot of repeats. State-created danger again. He's just repeating himself so he can get all the defendants. Yeah? Okay. That's probably good for the Kent Hovind thing. I just find it very interesting. Like, did he write this? Because I can't imagine a competent lawyer looking at this. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so don't take anything I'm saying as legal advice. But the fact that he's trying to claim that, like, he doesn't have to pay taxes. He's still claiming this. How can he possibly try and claim this? A lawyer would never sign off on this. I can't even imagine. Prayer for relief. Let's see what he wants. Let's see what he wants for this, and then we'll call it a day. Kent Hovind requests this court grant them the following relief jointly and severally against, or severely. No, severally, I was right, sorry. Against the named defendants. Judgment for compensatory damages against all defendants in an amount to be deemed at trial. Declaration that the conduct and actions against the plaintiffs carried out by the U.S. Treasury Department, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Bureau of Prisons to be declared unconstitutional. The U.S. Treasury Department, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Bureau of Prisons, their employees and agents, including but not limited to the defendants named in this action, be enjoined from further implementation of unconstitutional practices and policies. So he's claiming all the arrests and everything they did, the asset seizures, he's claiming it's unconstitutional, and therefore they should be disallowed from doing so in the future. Judge Margaret Rogers, conduct in suppressing plaintiff's testimony and sentencing plaintiff Hovind to prison be declared unconstitutional. Actions of defendants jointly and severely be declared unconstitutional. Plaintiff Hovind's conviction and sentence be vacated in the interest of justice. Sanctions against the various defendants. Compensatory damages from pain, stress, humiliation, mental anguish, punitive damages, attorney's fees, interest, and cost of suit, as well as any other relief the court deems appropriate. Here's a long list of unreasonable requests, and also whatever you want to give me, please. Kent Hovind hereby demands their right to trial by jury, where no administrative dismissal is allowed, and all facts and laws are determined by the majority vote of impartial jurors, with no alliances, contracts, oath, remuneration to, from, with either party, which is likewise also enumerated in the, he wants a jury trial. Oh, Kent. Has this been dismissed yet? I have no idea, but... Oh no, what is this? What? This is just him talking. This is an addendum about his damages. Let's read this. CSE trustee and longtime friend Paul Hansen asked me today what damages were done to me in the CSE ministry as a result of the unlawful actions of the defendants in this case, and how much compensation is justified. That is a soul-searching question. Just as the damages done by a drunk driver caused an accident that kills a man's family and puts him in a wheelchair for life cannot ever be repaid, there's no amount of money that will ever fix the damages done to me, my family, and the CSE ministry. Obviously, there was great damage done to my good name and my reputation, so an open public apology from each of the defendants would be a great place to start, but I hold no hope of that happening. That's good, at least his hopes aren't up. People who do these things to innocent people certainly should not have a badge or authority to represent our great country. I would agree if you were innocent, Kent, but you're not. You are on camera. I have the video of you being like, I haven't paid taxes in 10 years. And that was in the 90s. So you went on to not pay taxes for like another 10 years. You didn't pay taxes for like 30 years, either personally or for any of your employees in terms of what you have to when you are employing people, their payroll taxes. You're not an innocent victim. You broke the law. Is this Kent Hovind? Yes, it is. I gave my heart to the Lord Jesus Christ in 1969 when I was 16 and have sought to please and obey him ever since. Ooh, kinky. I was receiving about 30 invitations each week to travel and preach from all over the world. This case destroyed my good name and effectiveness to spread the gospel. What is that worth? I'll let the jury pick a number. Me and my wife Joe and I were childhood sweethearts, married in 1973. We're both virgins on our honeymoon. Why do I need to know that in a legal document? I don't need to know if you were virgins on your honeymoon. We're loyal to each other for 43 years. The July 13th arrest, the day before our July 14th anniversary, likely conveniently planned by some of the defendants. I very much doubt they were like, ha ha ha, let's get them the day before their wedding anniversary. I doubt it.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
We had 3 children and 5 grandchildren, all serving the Lord with us in the ministry. She's 5 feet tall, the church pianist, and a music teacher, and is the least dangerous person on the planet. Okay? She was arrested at gunpoint in bed and was not allowed to get dressed or go to the bathroom. What's the first thing you want to do when you get up? Sure, I would agree, and based on how he described the police arresting his wife, it seems excessive. I would agree. I think they probably should have let her put some clothes on and maybe pee real quick. I understand. But that doesn't mean that the entire process was polluted because of that. That's just a problem in general with policing in America, right? You are not exempt from paying taxes because the police are dicks when they arrested you for tax evasion. She was taken in handcuffs to the courthouse in her nightgown due to her being terrorized by the entire ordeal. She soon stopped writing to me or visiting me in prison. Upon my release from prison, she made me sleep in a separate room until she filed for divorce. Florida is a new no-contest state, and the divorce court hearing lasted 6 minutes. This just sounds like he's aggrieved by the fact that his wife left him. On the way out of court, I asked her to marry me again. Oh... This is just sad. Yeah, big oof. I agree. Could you get me a water? I have a glass. Thank you. Sorry, my throat's just getting scratchy. She, afraid of the defendant's further actions against me, said no and has not talked to me since. Oh no, Kent. Kent. Oh no. No. She didn't divorce you because she was afraid of the defendants. Thank you. Of course. The defendants being the United States government. She probably divorced you because your crimes put her in these situations and she can't deal with you anymore. What's the cost one can put on the defendant's evil actions that broke up a loving marriage? How can anyone put a dollar figure on that? $50? $50,000? $50 million? $500 million? Certainly punitive damages to teach them not to do this again to anyone are in order. I can only show why only effectual punitive damages can curtail such lawlessness, conspiring behavior. I ask the court, or the jury, to prayerfully decide this. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I raised my 3 children in the church ministry, and they all lived around me and worked beside me every day. I helped my son Eric go to Bible college to study to be creation science evangelist like me. Upon his graduation, he began helping me take some of the hundreds of requests I was getting to go preach at churches and schools. I helped him build his house 2 doors down from us, and his 3 children were the most loved grandchildren on the planet. I read them to sleep every night before my arrest. I wrote 15 books for them while I was in prison. We were a very close, loving family. I helped my daughter, Marlissa, go to college and to be one of my secretaries to handle the hundreds of phone calls I get. She worked in our ministry from the time she was a child. She asked me to perform her wedding, which I was honored to do. It's been played over 50 times on America's Funniest Home Videos. Please watch Dr. Hovind's daughter's wedding and see what a loving family we were. She and her husband lived next door also. He was on America's Funniest Home Videos? Okay. Due to the actions of the defendants, she and my son Eric are still to this day terrorized by the events and people surrounding this case and are afraid to be associated with me, their own father. Neither they nor the grandkids have ever come to visit me in 5 years since I've been in Lenox, Alabama, just 70 miles away, in spite of my repeated invitations, and they never call or invite me to family events in Pensacola. What is the dollar figure on the damages done to destroy a loving Christian family, all simply working hard to spread the word of God? Again, it's not about your religion. You just didn't pay your taxes for a decade, for multiple decades. Don't do that. What would you want if they did this to you? I'm sorry, I can't put a price on that. I'll let the jury decide. Damages to the creation ministry. Our CSE ministry was producing videos and books that were reaching people worldwide in 42 languages. The record shows that the ministry was bringing in about $2.5 million a year, growing by $1 to $2 million a year when I was arrested. Or sorry, is it one half million a year? $500,000 a year. Just that loss of revenue would be about $70 million so far and climbing every year. My health is great, and I think I'll preach another 20 years, praying my ministry outreach via DVDs and books would continue for many years. In addition, our ministry was inspiring scores of others to go out and do likewise. I'm sorry, but I can't put a dollar value on the souls lost for eternity due to the defendant's actions to destroy this ministry of God. Yeah, you can't, that's not actionable. Through our preaching and teaching at schools, churches, radio debates, and universities, etc., many thousands were coming to the Lord and being strengthened in their faith in God's infallible word each year. I was getting hundreds of invitations each year to preach. I preached in all 50 states and well over 30 foreign countries. Since my return from prison, this has dropped to near zero. The effectiveness of the gospel outreach was stopped. Only Satan or one of his helpers would want that to happen. Yeah, accuse the court of being in league with Satan. I'm sure they'll love that. In 2006, when the arrest took place, the CSE ministry had property and equipment valued at $3 million. A sworn itemized list will be available to the court's evidence. That all disappeared due to the illegal actions of the defendants in this case. Based on my 51-year track record of giving everything to the Lord's work, I know whatever damages the jury awards will go right back into the gospel ministry to win souls and spread his word. And then it's just, he one of the addendums on the lawsuit is the 10 Commandments. Don't know what that's supposed to do for you. Okay. And then it's just, evidence or something. That's just a picture of the envelope he sent it in with certified mail. Yeah. That's a big yikes from me. That's gonna be a big yikes. Yeah, Kent's kind of out of his mind on this one. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give legal advice, but if your legal strategy is to claim that the United States law doesn't apply to you, even though you're in the United States and operated a business in the United States and are a United States citizen, you're gonna have a bad time. Don't do that. Thank you everyone, by the way, who followed after that raid. I'm not going to get to all of you individually because there's a lot of them, but I appreciate it. Indignity Jones with 50 bits, Raid Bits, Daddy Sume with 20 bits. He absolutely wrote this himself. Feels like it, doesn't it? Tucker White, what is this fan fiction we're reading? It's legal fan fiction from Kent Hovind. Butterfiend69, someone tell Kent that if God is real, he allowed this to happen because he didn't want his family to be subjected to his insanity. Hey, Jesus said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Pay your taxes. Yeah, this is not going to go anywhere for him, and I don't know why he's trying. He's desperate. It sounds like he's really, really cut up about his family abandoning him, but again, don't get them in trouble with the feds, and maybe they won't do that. I don't know.